I worked for the Partnership for the Public Good with Eugene, Sam, and Megan this summer. And this is an open letter to High Road. If there's something that I learned this summer from my language access program, it's that language is both expression and limitation. For many, language allows us to communicate with one another, tell each other our fears, our wishes, our dreams, our pain, our suffering. But for the limited English proficiency individuals and the refugees coming to Buffalo, language suddenly becomes a wall. How do you tell your doctor that you have excruciating pain coming up from your arm? How do you know which bus stop to get off of when you can't understand the signs? And how do you work with your work when your supervisor speaks to you in a language that you just cannot comprehend? I don't remember who said this, but someone did years ago. That we writers attempt to create and capture that which we cannot articulate with language. That the work that we create for ourselves is futile, but that the process is what makes it beautiful. And throughout this summer and throughout this week, I've been struggling to capture and to represent my experience in Buffalo. The first couple of drafts of this letter was actually a poem, but I felt like the spaces in between the lines were too narrow, that the breaks and the pauses, which are the places where we stop to breathe, and not the way we lunge to Buffalo with our hearts in our sleeve. I thought of writing a letter to each of you, but realized that I wouldn't know what to say because most of this doesn't need to be said. Lola and I spoke about this one night near the middle of summer. There's a beauty in being able to sit in a room with someone and just understand when the room is silent, except for the breaths and the air is heavy with a thought. In this space right now, there are 19 of us. And though I'm contradicting myself, I'll try to explain to you what this summer has meant for me. The first person I met at Buff State was Mark Julian Masson. And when I told him I was a rising senior, he did this thing where he was like, oh, and raised his eyes and made his eyes go wide. You know, in that rather French, but also very Marky Mark kind of way. And the first time I met Jess in our room, we talked about fried bologna sandwiches, Coyote P, and Beth Livingston. And I also spent much of the afternoon telling her to make her iced tea already. Do you guys remember the trolley tour we had with Sam? It was incredibly awkward, looking at each other's faces, but thrilling because there was a promise that after 8 weeks of all of this, that we would fall into a pattern, fall into our lives seamlessly. I remember sitting next to Corbin, comforted by the fact that it was easier with someone that I already knew. And during dinner, I'm pretty sure the first thing I did was come out to Brianna, and I was totally freaked out about it because I just could not read her face. And now I'm a lot better because I'm better at reading you now. And Damien, I think we tried to strike up a conversation, but that didn't get really far. That first week, I spent most of my time with Clint, and then with the radical women watching Wives with Knives and doing 30-day challenges. It was only afterwards that I realized that I had a suite for troubled girls with me, and that I should probably get to know them. And I'm really glad I did. Jess, Mom, Lala, Mommy, Bree, the incredibly cool cousin that I get to see once in a blue moon. This has been a summer of firsts and personal growth and reflection, and thank you for letting me share it with you. And congratulations for becoming Miss Connolly's Suite for Exceptional Young Ladies. I hope she's proud. And to the moderate men turned labradoodles, I apologize on behalf of my suite for not finding you a more appropriate name, and I thank you for housing us ladies whenever we wanted more company. Thank you to Buffalo, to Hiro, to Sam, LJ, Megan, to the supervisors and friends that we have made this summer. For many of us, it was our first foray into being adults. For some of us, we have done this before. But regardless, thank you for being there, picking us up whenever we fell, for supporting us since the very beginning. And I've said this before, there is so much heart in the Buffalo community. Nowhere else have I found a people who care so much, who wish us so well, who see us not as mere interns but as adults who actually make an impact, who would not have been here without you. And even now, writing this letter and reading this to you all, it still does not hit me. Today is our last day. Today is our last night. Buffalo, you have charmed me with your pretty little houses and rehabilitated silos, beautiful hotels and cafes, your art galleries, concerts and parks. Maybe I'm looking at Buffalo through rose-colored glasses, and maybe I'm being overly romantic. This is summer after all. But regardless, thank you for the journey, and I'll miss you all.